Hello everyone, my name is Maruku and welcome back to What If Deku Was a Dragneel. So let's get started. Izuku's making his way to school and he's thinking back on the weird circumstances of yesterday. He's thinking about how the reporters had broken into the school the way they did. And, he's thinking to himself, why is it that they would do something so stupid? I mean, under the circumstances, right? He knows that they're vultures, right? And they're desperate to get any kind of scoop they can on, the latest heroes and all that kind of junk, but, he doesn't think that they would go as far as to legitimately break into a school, destroy the front gate just to get there. But he can't really explain any other idea of what caused this. Because, as far as he's aware, all it is that it is like a wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. And, it's just kind of weird to him. As he's getting to school, everyone's filing in and so on and so forth, but, he's trying his best to, be reasonable and, not, push his way in, right? But he keeps thinking to himself, what in the world has this gotten into, what have we come to? Whereas, reporters are breaking in, and every student was losing their minds, forgetting that most of them are from the hero course. They're supposed to be prepared to help civilians, not run away scared with their tails tucked between their legs. But, he he also can't blame them because they're still just students. They can't be expected to do the grown-up stuff. That, and he's not really one to talk with his overly dangerous quirk that can easily roast an entire cul-de-sac if he's not careful. Especially whenever it comes to the fact that his body generates heat. That could rival most fires. But he makes his way to class, and once he gets up in there, he goes and he sits down, and he starts talking to his classmates, and it just kind of goes pretty nice, kind of smoothly. He's just kind of enjoying his time talking to them and having fun. But then Mr. Aizawa comes in and he tells them that they're going to be going on a school field trip. And, the kids are excited. They're like, whoa, we're going on a field trip? That's awesome. But, he tells them to go get their hero costumes on and to go outside to the bus, once they're ready, right? And Izuku and the others, they get dressed, and they make their way to the bus. After all the kids got settled in, they're all sitting in their own spots. Izuku's sitting next to Ochako, and Sue is sitting next to Tokoyami. They all begin to talk about how who has the coolest quirk and all that, right? And here it goes. Izuku starts spouting off about how everyone has an awesome quirk, which, mind you, Bakugo saw coming. He was like, "Yep, the nerd's about to tell everyone that they're awesome in their own way." And Izuku starts kind of going over how it's not even a plain Jane thing. It can be categorized easily into different points. that like everyone is special and unique in their own individual way, and that like no like everyone like should be happy with who they are because like everyone's awesome, right? And like they all hear this and they're thinking, "Oh, that's pretty nice. It's pretty sweet, right?" Because like for the most part, they're not exactly used to having someone give them so much praise and applause and so on and so forth. But like even Ochako, she's like really, really like happy to hear all this, like to hear them talk about like so much like like talk in such a way, right? Whereas like everyone feels special in their own way. But even Aizawa, right? Like like he's listening in on the conversation. He's thinking to himself, "Well, dang, this kid really knows his stuff. Give him props. The kid's incredibly smart, and if nothing else, he at least knows what he's doing." Like, and mind you, like Aizawa's not like someone who typically gives the most praise, but he's actually proud of one of his problem children, genuinely, for being so mature. But like, not only that, but like it's the fact that like he can tell that Izuku like knows what he's talking about. He's not just like being complimentive to be complimentive. He's being genuine. There's a wisdom in how he kind of like describes everyone. Like it's almost like there's assurance in it, like in his tone. Like he knows exactly like what he's saying and how he's saying it. Like without any faults or ifs, ands, or buts either. But like as it goes on, like each of the students, they're like waiting for the bus to stop, right? And like once they get to the USJ, like they all start filing out and making their way up to the building, and lo and behold, at the very top of the stairs is a Hero 13 who has like Ochako completely like agape with awe and like with surprise, because she wasn't expecting to see her favorite hero here at this present moment. But like once she actually once she like sees 13, like she starts to fangirl and get all giddy and happy and jovial and just extremely excited, and like they and Izuku, like he's looking at Ochako and he's like, "Oh my god, you are so adorable. You are precious." Like literally precious. And like it like he can't help but to like be in awe of how adorable he believes his Ochako is. And like after he calms her down and all that, right? Like Hero 13 does her speech about how quirks are dangerous, and like they can be used to hurt people, but like even a dangerous quirk can be used to save people, right? And each student, they're taking this to heart and they're really hearing her out. And they're taking the time to understand what she's like trying to like tell them, right? And like as they're doing this, that like they make their way inside, after the speech, and they're in awe. The vast array of area, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It like it blows the mind, and it's hard to even put into words how impressive this is. But after taking it all in, Izuku then kind of notices something in the distance. He notices that there appears to be something that looks as if it in the very center of the the USJ, right? By the fountain. It looks like a swirling mist, and his dragon senses, they start to feel like they're on fire, like he's being burnt, like he's burning up. Out of the portal came a man with hands covering his body, a giant ugly bird, and a bunch of other monsters. And Izuku knew at the moment he saw them. These are villains, and they've come to kill us, or worse. Izuku yelled, "Mr. Aizawa, villains!" But before the sentence could even finish leaving his mouth, the Aizawa had grabbed his scarf, and he flew down the stairs to intervene. As the villains were trying to get at Aizawa, he just kept going, just kept on fighting. And the kids, they were impressed. They were amazed at their teacher's ability to take on so many enemies all by himself. And some of the students, Ida tried to help the others get to the door along with 13, but that warping villain, he got in their way and blocked the path. Once he blocked the path, he "We are the League of Villains, and we have come to kill the symbol of peace, but it appears he's not here. No matter, my master wishes to scatter you students." And he proceeds to engulf most of the students. Izuku pushing Ochako out of the way of the shadowy mass, as fast as he can to get her out of the way of danger, right? Not knowing what this shadowy mass could do to them, right? And after that, he gets engulfed by the darkness, right? And he finds himself having fallen into the conflagration zone, the zone full of fire. And Izuku, once he once he's actually there, he looks around. He's like, it teleported me here. And Izuku, right, all he can think about is getting back to the others, right, as fast as he can. But he starts to see a bunch of villains coming out of nowhere to trying to attack him. The only thing is that the villains don't realize that he was sent to the worst zone that they could have ever dreamed of. Izuku, he takes a big smile, right? And he's like, "Well, since y'all are here to hurt the students, and I'm one of the students in question, I might as well treat y'all to a little bit of what my powers do." He starts to shift his arms into the scaly form, and he goes, "Watch this," as he sucks in all the fire from the entire zone. like absorbing every last ember, spark, anything he can, and taking it all into his body. Like, and the movement of all the fire around him being absorbed, it's pulling it all into him, which is covering the whole zone in a blanket of fire, which is kind of cooking some of the villains a little bit. They're getting, they're looking pretty medium done by the time that Izuku's done eating, and he says, "Oh, come on! I didn't even get to throw the first punch yet, and you're already out for the count." And he takes all this fire, right, and like inside of himself, and he's pretty charged. And don't forget, he still has a lot of fire left over from Bakugo basically double nuking him in the face during the battle trials. So he still has that in the tank. But like, he quickly propels himself up and out of the zone, right? Completely shattering the dome surrounding it, right? And like, as he breaks through the dome, right, he can see like what's going on around him, right? And he sees the big bird headed creature, right, had legitimately become a typhoon of death and barreled its way towards Aizawa, beginning to not so generously pulverize him, which infuriated Deku because he wasn't going to sit down and let his teacher and his classmates get hurt like that. So he starts to like make his way over there, right? And like, as he's like barreling in, right, Aizawa can see the burning hot flames coming from Izuku as he's like coming down, right? And like, Aizawa, in an attempt to protect one of his students, he yells out, "Don't come any closer! Stay away!" And Izuku, like he stops mid-flight, right? And Shigaraki, he turns around and he looks at Izuku with these flames kind of belting out from under his feet, right? And he's like, yeah, you're kind of interesting now, aren't you? And like, after like that being said, like Shigi proceeds to see how like Aizawa seems very like intent on not having that specific student come any closer, even though the student seems to have some kind of fire-based quirk. And then Shigi gets a big smile. He's like, "Eraser, you seem very fond of that student there. Is there any particular reason why? Or is this just a vague attempt at trying to play nice? Trying to protect your feeble little students? I also wonder what the answer might be." But like, preceding this, right? Izuku, like seeing what's going on, right? Like, he's conflicted because on one end he wants to help his teacher, on the other, he knows that if he does nothing, then like then his teacher might be like hurt beyond repair and might be put in a position where he might have to retire. Like, he's worried for his teacher. Hell, he's worried for the other students because like, now that like Shigaraki has effectively taken out Aizawa, right? with his Nomu, he can basically go and he can attack the students himself just for the hell of it. And this like worries Deku. He freaks him out. It makes him feel frustrated. And like as he's like watching this go down, right? Like Shigaraki goes, I have an idea. Since you seem so intent on having your students here try so hard, how about I do this instead? How about I actually have my Nomu attack your other students, the ones on the top of the stairs with the broken version of 13. And when Izuku hears Shigaraki say this, you can hear a crackling pop in his flames as he starts to jet towards the students, right? The other students, and at that moment, Shigaraki says, Nomu, go kill the brats. And in a flicker, the Nomu has physically disappeared from on top of like Aizawa and has like appeared above the stairs with the other students, right? And Izuku, like deep down, this feeling starts to boil up. It begins to corrode everything inside of himself. Every time he's felt this feeling before, but never like this. It's new. It's scary. It claws at the core of his being, calling for blood, calling for destruction, for hellfire. This feeling, it grows, and it festers and burns. And in a flicker, the heat generating from his propulsion moves him at a speed faster than his imagination could comprehend at the time, as he reaches this grand beast that's rearing up to strike at the students, and he tackles the hell out of it, forcing it into a wall as he becomes something different. The scales from his quirk, they only develop up to a certain point on the arms and legs, but now he's taking on a different appearance. These scales on his skin that were originally a green tint change to red, and they start to grow beyond his elbows, up his arms, and across his shoulders, eventually leading to a scaly look to start to etch its way onto his neck and face. His teeth begin to sharpen. A menacing, sickly growl bubbling in his throat. His eyes sharpen into slits. And his hair growing longer and longer. He takes this thing, he slams it next into the ground, growling and raging, calling for blood, calling for its death. He takes a deep breath in, and He breathes a hellfire onto this sickly bird, causing it to punch him. But the hit didn't do very much to dissuade Izuku, causing a sickly red aura to gather around Izuku. And as the beast charged at Izuku, it locked fingers with him, and you could hear an audible sizzling from the skin as Izuku's flesh became that of hot molten. It sizzled and burned the flesh of the Nomu, before Izuku eventually sucked in another great gulp of air before breathing out once more, scorching and searing the stomach and chest of the Nomu, before then breaking its hand, reaching up with his sharpened claws and grabbing it by the neck as he slammed it into the ground once more, ripping its other arm from its torso, throwing it to the side, then dragging its body across the ground, ripping and tearing at the flesh of its back as it drags. A sickly roar begins to rise in his throat. The other students, they're seeing this drastic change in Izuku. Even Aizawa, when seeing it, he's disturbed. He's sickened by the fact that his student is going so far and without any restraint. He thought, who the hell is this kid? Where did he come from? What could have created such a behemoth of a kid? And as Izuku finishes dragging the Nomu, he rips the other arm before throwing it across the entirety of the dome, all the way to the other side, before growling and gnashing his teeth, going onto all fours as a pair of wings starts to flicker its way out of his back, and his neck begins to elongate a little bit. And his mouth begins to become a great snout, dripping with a molten magma-like substance. Izuku's rage, it boils over. It festers again, and his eyes are locked upon Shigaraki. And Shigaraki's like, what the hell is this kid? What in the hell kind of students do they have here? And as Izuku bolted forward with a great speed, being propelled by these wings and flames of his, he not forcibly wrings Shigaraki's neck out as he drags him across the ground too, before slamming him into the fountain and holding him under the water. His hands burning a drastic wound into Shigaraki's shoulder. Shigaraki screaming in pain, wanting it to stop, feeling like his whole body is being cooked alive. He reaches his fingers up to decay Izuku's hand, but the moment his 5 fingers make contact, his hand begins to blister and burn. And the Nomu finally comes back and he grabs Izuku, ripping him off of Shigaraki, slamming him into the wall this time. And Izuku, he opens up his maw of long, sharp, jagged teeth, and from the deepest bowels of his throat, he the words,
"Fire Dragon King's roar."
a molten flame, viscous in nature, pours out of Izuku's mouth, completely engulfing the Nomu, covering it from head to toe in this burning fluid that starts to deteriorate its body almost on a cellular level, causing it to break down as it screams out. The regeneration is helping it, but its body is breaking down faster than it can regenerate, and its body almost turns into a sludge before reaching up and grabbing Izuku and finally throwing him towards the flood zone. And as Izuku lands into the water instantly starts to boil, causing all the villains in the water, while Sue and Mineta were on the boat, to scream out in pain, feeling an immense heat boiling their skin. They scream and beg and plead for the burning to stop. All they can do is swim away as fast as they can before the heat overwhelms their flesh. But as Izuku crawls out of the flood zone, the water starting to slowly evaporate, he begins to choke out hardened, molten sludge out of his throat, as he kind of looks like a wet dog. Like he's like he looks kind of like unwell, very unwell. But like at that moment, like the Shigaraki finally realizes his Nomu's kaput. It's not going to be of any use to him anymore, and as Izuku rushes in to call the curtain, as you might say, to keep this kind of a little bit more PG on Shigaraki's whole existence, Kurogiri opens up a portal, teleporting Izuku off one more time before. But the unfortunate bit is that, as it was teleporting Izuku managed to reach out his hand below and crush part of the armor, causing Kurogiri to be very injured and also be suffering from the fact that now the armor plating that's around his neck is actually burning him immensely, because it's now tightly clamped around his neck, causing Kurogiri to writhe around in pain, feeling as this thing is burning him. And he warps off his armor and tossing it to the side, but before looking over to Shigaraki and saying, "Master, the Nomu's dead. We have no chances anymore. If we stay here, that thing will come back and it will most assuredly kill us. Please, order a retreat, Master, please." And Shigaraki, having a nasty portion of his left hand completely seared, and his the entirety of his his left shoulder also scorched with fourth degree burn in his shoulder, he can't exactly argue with the fact that he needs to retreat. It's kind of his only option at this point, unless he wants to die. And he needs severe medical attention to hopefully reverse whatever they can with his body, because otherwise he's kind of screwed. But Shigaraki says, "Fine, we'll leave, but we'll be back for you students. And he walks through the warp gate with Kurogiri and leaves. But Izuku is not able to comprehend what's going on around him because of the fact that he's gone a little bit too far. His dragon self not having the proper amount of antibodies to prevent him from becoming too far gone or having a negative side effect, it's warped his perception of friend and foe. So now he's kind of on a blind rampage, leaking molten sludge out of his throat and walking around attacking anything he sees. And Aizawa, he sees what Izuku's doing, and he's trying to use his erasure to stop it, but it doesn't do anything because it's no longer just his. Because Dragon Slayer magic is not a quirk. His actual scales were replaced by Dragon Slayer magic. So Aizawa can't do anything to stop this. And Ochako, seeing Izuku in so like this, the only thing she can think is that he's in so much pain, that it must hurt to be like this, that he desperately wants to turn back, but he's so blinded by whatever this is that he's scared. It's scaring him. It's got him feeling fearful. And as she descends the stairs, she's face to face with Aizawa, and he says, "Don't go near him. He's volatile." And she's like, "No, sir. I can tell he's in pain. He needs me." And she begins to walk towards him slowly, and Izuku, he levels his eyes towards her, and a low growl begins to reverberate in his throat as he growls at her. She goes, "Shh, it's okay, Izuku. The bad people are gone. I promise, you're okay. There's no need to fear. I'm here. I won't hurt you." And Izuku, he begins to back up. He begins to cower a bit, almost seeming as if he went from a rage-filled monster to a scared puppy. And he looks down and he sees his claws. He feels the wings on his back. He feels everything. He starts to cower backwards. Ochako, she continues to draw closer. She says, "Izuku, please. I'm not afraid of you. Come here. I promise I'm not mad. You saved us. You protected all your classmates. You were a real hero today, Izuku. Please, come here. We can fix you." Izuku, he backs up more, going from a growl to a whine. He seems ashamed of himself for having resorted to this. For having resorted to this darkness inside of him to win, to protect others. The idea of what he's doing, it eats away at him. This primordial part of him, it tries to snuff out his ability to perceive reality, but he's fighting for control and trying to regain himself, but he feels dirty. He feels unclean. He killed a creature. He brutally burned a man. His presence in the water boiled a bunch of people. He feels sick. Gross. He feels like throwing up. his whole body racked with guilt and shame and pain. He looks at Ochako and he feels so filthy. Like what he has done cannot be forgiven. What he's done cannot be fixed. Until she gets down on her knees and she reaches out to touch him. But he cowers. He doesn't want to hurt her. He doesn't want this power of his to hurt her. But she looks at him and she says, "It's okay, Izuku. I know you won't hurt me. I know you'd never hurt me. You have a big heart. It's so big and loving and caring. I know you'd never do this on purpose. You were only trying to protect us. You were only trying to protect me. There's no shame in that. Even if you went a little far, you were a hero." And as her hand drew closer, she placed her hand on his face, and it seemed as if she wasn't getting burned. And then she threw her arms around his neck, holding on tight despite the fact that it was burning her. It was hurting her severely. She's like, "It's okay, Izuku. I'm fine." Because he could hear the noise of her skin being burned a bit. And he tried to get her to get off, but she wouldn't. She's like, "I'm not letting you go, Izuku. I promised that I'd be here for you. I'm not going to go back on my promise. I care too much to let you go through this alone. I know you're scared. I know you're hurting. Just believe in me. Let me take care of you." Izuku. He wrapped his arms around her. He cried. Crying and weeping. Tears cascading down his face before sizzling out and evaporating. Slowly his body turned back to normal. And when he looked at Ochako, she was badly burned. He looked into her eyes and he said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you, Ochako, please. Please be okay." And she looks at him. She cups his face and she says, "You could never hurt me, Izuku. Never. Because I know that you are better than this. I know the real you. The you that cares for people. The you that genuinely loves people. The you that wants to protect, to heal, to help, to aid. I know the real you, Izuku. This thing that you became, it does not define whether you can be a hero or not." And he hugged her once more, crying in her arms. Before the other teachers finally came in, along with All Might, they all ran over to each of the students. Recovery Girl tending to as many of the injured as she could. All Might saw had come in with the others, and he saw the carnage, the burns, the villains in the water who are almost boiled. And he saw Izuku crying into Ochako's arms. He rushed over to them and said, "My boy, are you okay?" Izuku couldn't answer. He just cried until he passed out. He'd cried himself into an exhaustion. The other teachers, they gathered as many villains as they could and they hauled them off, but they couldn't understand what happened. And after hearing testimonies from all the other students and having Detective Tsukachi take statements, hearing what Izuku did, they decided to keep it under very hush-hush, very lock and key. And Tsukachi obliged. He was more than happy to do a favor for the principal of UA and for All Might. But they thought that they'd probably keep an eye on Izuku, have him take a couple of lessons with, or a couple times with Hound Dog, see if it helped with his mental state after what happened. But from there, all the students were sent home. I think I'm going to leave this part here. I hope you all enjoyed. And don't forget, the shadows are watching.